All righty, welcome back to the episode of Two Plane Sports. Today is Saturday, October 8th. As we're recording this, it's 2 o'clock. The game is still going on, but we decided there was no need to continue to watch the end of the fourth quarter. So we wanted to hop on here and give some instant reaction and thoughts on this game. And I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts and opinions of everyone that's watching this video. But before we get into it, just want to say we appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment on the video. I'm sure there's going to be some opinions that are going to be voiced after this game and some thoughts. So be sure to do that. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Spotify and Apple. Everything's linked in the description below. And be sure to share this video and let us know what you think. So, Jose, as we're recording this, it is still going on, as I said. OU is currently down, what was it, 56-0? Is that what they're down right now?
A lot to a little.
A lot to a little. So I want to give you the floor to go after what you have to say.
Well,
49-0, excuse me.
49-0 right now. And there's
it might be 56-0. It might be 56-0.
But here's the thing. The defense started they didn't play terrible at the beginning of the game. Did they play amazing? No. But when your offense scores 0 points, it doesn't matter how well your defense plays against a good offense like Texas. You're going to more than likely lose. And I mentioned it. I know in our pregame show, for those that watched, I gave a score prediction, and that's when it still seemed like Dillon Gabriel was going to play. He was in warmups, he was padded up, and then it was literally a last-second decision. And then Levy, whoever makes the decision, I'm assuming it's Levy, since it seems like Venables is giving him free reign on the offense. And is more acting as a CEO type of head coach, where he doesn't do much play calling. He just makes sure that everyone is on the right path where he envisions the program being. Levy goes in and does possibly the worst thing you can do for this offense and trot out Bevel, the guy that was the third string quarterback for Pittsburgh last year. He had less than 100 yards in his entire career. Dude looks scared to do anything correct. Is unathletic. He's slower than our linemen. Your quarterback is slower than your offensive lineman, and you still try to do QB runs with him, and it makes no sense. My first thing, going into half, I was frustrated clearly because we were shut out still at that point. But the Wildcat was working. Obviously, it's not something that you like to see, because clearly if you're running the Wildcat as your offensive coordinator, as a guy who's supposed to be coaching the quarterbacks, you would assume, all right, if I have to keep doing this to move the ball anywhere, I should probably replace my quarterback, because that guy can't move the ball when I give it to him. But no, we come back from half. I'm hoping General Booty, Nick Evers, Ralph Rucker, Micah Bowens, literally anyone, Braden Willis did a significantly better job of running RPO plays than Davis Bevel has over now a game and a half. And no, he's too stubborn. I never thought I'd actually say this, but I hope that we fire Jeff Levy at the end of the year, if not sooner. That dude, we were sold a false bill of whatever the hell it is. That guy's shit. As of 5-6 games into the season, his offense hasn't never looked amazing. It looked good at first, and I think we all had hope that it would get better as it started unfolding with Dillon Gabriel. It hasn't really looked any better with Dillon Gabriel, and you can put that on Dillon's hands because he hasn't been the most accurate quarterback. But now you have a freshman quarterback, a 4-star freshman quarterback who's supposed to be dual threat, and you don't even give him a chance to prove himself at a big game, in an actual game. You've decided that Davis Bevel is your best chance at moving the ball, when he was out on the field, the ball was moving better when he was out there pretending to block. There's really no rhyme or reason why Levy did what he did today. There isn't. if I'm Nick Evers, if Dylan Gabriel can't play next week for the concussion, which I hope is not the case, and Nick Evers is not given an opportunity next week, I would go ahead and just tell Levy and Venables that I'm entering my name in the transfer portal and to not even bother. Give me a chance next for the rest of the year, because how do you, like, you recruited me to try to help this program and you don't give me a chance? And you can kind of say the same for General Booty, because he came out of JUCO as the leading passer at the JUCO level, probably had a couple other opportunities, maybe not a ton, but you don't give him a chance either. Davis Bevel, a guy that no one gave him a chance before. He was the third string quarterback at Pittsburgh. It wasn't even Kenny Pickett's backup. Dude can't play. He just can't. Like, get off your high horse, Levy, and give someone else a chance. The defense, we can touch on that later, but that is the most frustrating thing. How do you get shut out? How?
As we're watching this, or as we're recording this, OU did finally roll out Nick Evers, with 4 minutes left in the game, only down 49-0. You had to rest the starter because, he's solid.
Can't lose a
Bevel,
starter.
I've never understood, when you watch Bevel run on this field, you don't feel like there's any spark or any chance for this team to win a game. And I think the whole team knows it. And it was odd. I don't know if it's the fact that Nick Evers and General Booty are that far behind from understanding the offense that it's that bad. I don't really know why. And then whenever the Wildcat was working, then you bring in Davis Bevel and killed the drives. And then the Wildcat's working, then you do a jump pass and then throw a horrendous interception. I don't know. When was the last time you ever saw the starting quarterback for OU go 6 for 12 as we're recording this? I assume he's done 6 for 12, 38 yards and 1 pick in a game that he played nearly the entire game. I don't understand. I don't necessarily think that Levy needs to get fired. I don't know. And there's just no one believes that Bevel is the guy, and and all the players know it. And I would be more than willing to live with a young Nick Evers or a General Booty that will sling the ball around. They might throw picks, but we might have actually scored a touchdown or even a field goal, believe it or not. We're gonna
move the ball down the field at least.
Yeah, and we're gonna be shut out. I assume we're not gonna score again or score at all between now and then. We're gonna be shut out for the first time since '98. And this team as a whole is bad. It's just not good. Now Gabriel comes back. Yes, they're going to be better, and they'll be able to move the ball a little bit and score some points, and they're going to win a few more games the rest of this year. But the way this team's looking, we might be lucky to go 6-6. Hopefully, I'm hoping to be bowl eligible. That sounds absolutely ridiculous because I would have never thought that. We got Kansas rolling in next week. Kansas might steamroll Oklahoma, which is weird to think about. But I don't know. The whole Braden Willis Wildcat, I don't know why he couldn't just stick with that. Levy's just not staying with one thing. He's overthinking it. The offensive line actually wasn't too bad. They were opening some holes. They were running the Wildcat. They were protecting Bevel, but Bevel just couldn't find anyone, and maybe no one was open. It's just in disarray right now, and I don't know what it's going to take to fix this, other than getting Dylan Gabriel back and trying to, commit to the run with Gabriel and protect Gabriel and let him make some plays every now and then. I don't know what they're going to do.
And I think the offensive line did well today. There wasn't any scenario where Davis Bevel was getting just absolutely rushed, and you could be like, all right, he didn't have even a second to look down the field. He had plenty of time behind that offensive line, and he pump faked 2, 3 times and then would get sacked because he has terrible decision making. When we did get down pretty far with the Wildcat, and he had the RPO, and it's like he's not reading what's in front of him, because he has the ball in Gray's belly. He sees the defender off the edge start coming at him. And I mean, watching it and just from having basic knowledge, if you see the defender start coming at you, more than likely he's assuming you're keeping the ball. You just tuck that thing into Gray's belly and let him go and let him make a play, especially if you're Davis Bevel. You're not Kyler Murray. You're not Jalen Hurts, not Lamar Jackson. Like, you don't have wheels. Again, you're slower than your offensive line. Let the running back take it and try to make a play when it's I think it was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Then instead he takes a sack and loses a yard or two. And then on 4th down, when you're trying to go on that exact same drive, you're like, yeah, you know what? I think I finally realized I have 0 wheels. So Texas already sees that. I can't run. So I'm going to put it in Gray's belly without even reading what the line is doing, and let him just get absolutely blasted at the line. Like, the dude doesn't know what is happening in front of him, apparently. So if you're telling me he knows what's happening on the field and Booty and Evers have 0 idea, then Lebby can't coach. Then that's like a real problem, because Dylan Gabriel at this point then is just taking his experience from UCF and applying it at Oklahoma, and is doing what he can to be successful at whatever level he is being successful at. And you guys can you can have your own opinion on how Dylan Gabriel's been successful or not, but like that, if Bevel is the second best option at the quarterback position, Lebby's not doing his job at coaching the quarterbacks. And that just seems like an objective thing. Like, yes, I'm frustrated that we scored 0 points, but it's kind of horseshit. Come on, man. Teach your quarterbacks to do something.
Yeah, but on the other hand is, we talked about going into the season that the drop off from Dylan Gabriel and the rest of the quarterbacks is tremendous. And it's very evident that that's right and true. I think you look at where Lebby was, in his offenses, you need a highly talented quarterback to run his offense. I mean, Matt Corral was extremely talented, and that's what made it go. And that's why he was good. And even Dylan Gabriel, did it as well. And I will say, Dylan Gabriel, when he's been healthy, that Kansas State game, he had nearly 400 total yards and 4 touchdowns. And maybe it's truly that Bevel has the most understanding of the offense, but the other ones just don't know what they're doing, just because they're too young and they're just too fresh. And Dylan Gabriel was able to pick it up, and Bevel has a little more, I guess, experience at the collegiate level and is able to pick it up a little quicker. And maybe this is just the fact that he can't do much with his offense if he doesn't have a quarterback that's able to throw. And maybe he doesn't feel like the other two would even know where to look or how to operate. And this is just a product of why it is critical to have a quality backup. I mean, you think about last year's OU Texas, you had Rattler start, and Caleb Williams came in and was Superman and pulled OU out and won. Bevel never gave that feel. And I think ultimately what this team is dealing with is, I think they don't believe they don't think they're very good. I think they're dealing with confidence. I think they're dealing with confidence issues. I think they're dealing with lack of identity. I think they're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with lack of depth, and they just don't believe that they're good enough to win. And I think that is one of the hardest things to change that mindset about it. And I think if Gabriel would have played today, it would have been different. I think part of me wonders how many of these players knew that Gabriel wasn't going to play. Knew for sure. Did anyone actually know that he wasn't going to play, or was it just the coaches? And then as soon as they found out that Gabriel was not going to play, did that just kind of take the wind out of their sails, and they're just like, oh my gosh, we've got Davis Bevel going out there, we're not going to be able to win, and the confidence just went to zero.
Yeah, and there seems to be no player leader on the field. I think Stutzman tries to do it for the defense, and he can only do so much. Again, I don't think this game was on the defense's head. Yeah, they got a lot of points scored on them, but I think at some point they were just trying to make plays, and it bit them in the ass. And again, the Texas offense is very good. Their running game, fucking all their running backs scored a touchdown, except for their true freshman that came in with 5 minutes left to play. Ewers had a game, and we said it in our pregame show, and we said it on Friday's show, on Wednesdays, maybe, if it was announced that whenever it was announced that he was officially back to be the starter for Texas, we mentioned it. He is their best quarterback, and he's going to throw darts all over the field. The DBs are going to get challenged. They were challenged. Woody Washington, if Woody gets that pick in the first quarter, I don't know that we score, but it at least kills a little bit of momentum for Texas, and it makes Ewers think a little bit. After that, they started, since he didn't complete that interception, that pace for the offense got a lot faster. And again, the play calling on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know what it is, and Venables needs to. I understand the reasoning why he wants to be like a CEO as a head coach and just manage his coaches, but it's just not working. Like, you were brought here as one of the best defensive coaches in college football, and you are hands off with the defense. Look what's happening. Get your hands in there, work on this defense, and do the play calling, even if it's for a year or two. Bob Stoops did it when he first got to Oklahoma. He was a play caller for a while, and then he released it to Venables and Mike. Like, you don't just give it up. You were brought here for a reason, and you were pretty much giving up that reason to try to be what you see. It seems he's doing what he believes is right as a head coach and what a head coach is supposed to do, which he isn't wrong, but not this early in your head coaching career. You got to take the reins at the side of the ball that you're best at. Again, I think Levy fucking sucks, and I will be singing that tune for the rest of the year, and I don't care what you guys say, but I just don't think, even with Jackson Arnold, who now, the more and more that I see of these quarterbacks, the more and more I think Jackson Arnold is going to likely compete for the starting position, even if Dylan Gabriel comes back next year. And again, I think Nick Evers definitely has a chance to put his name in that hat to compete for starting time. But if there's any reason, if there's any reason that recruits don't start decommitting from Oklahoma, it's because they're saying that young guys do not get the opportunity that they should, even if they are the most talented. The coaches are way too in their heads thinking they just don't know enough yet. Well, they're going to learn if you give them real game reps. Practice is, I get it, it's practice, and you have to excel at that first. But at some point, when something's not working, you can't keep doing it and expect it to fix itself. You gotta, and we all criticize Lincoln Riley for pulling Spencer Rattler during the Texas game his redshirt freshman year and last year's Texas game, but it seemed to have done the trick both times for Oklahoma. He snapped out of whatever funk he was in that first time he got pulled for the few series, and then was able to recover and do something about it. Last year, he was taken out, and we ended up getting a better quarterback out of it for the rest of the season. These coaches are not making those same changes. As much as it would suck to tell your player, hey, you are doing really bad right now, we're going to sub you out, you got to do it sometimes. Jaron Kanik wasn't given an opportunity until late in the game when it was irrelevant. Give him a chance when it means something. Owegbu was getting beat by everyone when it came to speed. Sean White was meh. Danny Stutzman get caught a lot on RPOs. RPOs. They keep their eyes on the quarterback rather than trying to find the ball, it seems like, because running backs just get way past them, but all the linebackers. But I mean, I don't know. It's just frustrating. I don't even care that we lost. It's how we lost. And I said it in yesterday's show when we were trying to go through our bets. I was hesitant to pick Oklahoma plus 9.5, but I figured that line was too big. the offense would do something. I still had some belief in Levy, even though I was questioning his play calling. I figured he'll pick it up. He'll wake up for this Texas game. It's a rivalry game. He's fucking played in it. And dude, his response to Dylan Gabriel not sitting out is putting probably your worst quarterback on the roster on the field.
And there was some time. I mean, there was a point in this game where OU early in the second half, it felt like they were just packing it in and didn't really care. And it was just like the play calls of, if Bevel is your guy and you're down 28 points, why are you running it on like 3rd and 10 and early in the third quarter? It's just, it seemed weird. And I don't know if this staff is just looking at it as like, we're just going to let these guys play. We can't do a whole lot with them. We don't really care. I mean, I think they care. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, maybe they do care, but I just feel like they've already kind of chalked the season up as a whatever, and we're just going to go through the motions. We need to wait until we get our guys here. But yeah, the whole communication, Ted Roof, he couldn't get the plays down fast enough to him. He couldn't. They were staring at the sidelines as Bijan Robinson was already getting the ball in his hands, and they turned around and then the plays already started. And they can't communicate. The tempo was killing them. They weren't able to adjust on the fly. I feel like as a defensive coordinator, I would like a defensive coordinator to be on the sidelines. I feel like, because on the offensive side, offensive coordinator, I get, not having them on the sidelines, you can kind of control the tempo and things like that. But the defensive coordinator, you don't have the ability to call tempo, or you have to kind of go with the offense. And I don't know, if you're on the sidelines, you're able to adjust maybe a little faster. I don't know. It just seems weird. And I feel like Venables is going to have to step in and do something, because it was pretty, I mean, like you said, it's the way that Oklahoma lost. It's okay if OU lost. I mean, OU was due for one of, a game where Texas basically imposes their will on them, because Oklahoma's done it so many times recently. But it's just the fact that you couldn't even muster up 3 points. And what was kind of even more sad was the first couple of possessions that OU had, they were throwing the kitchen sink at everything and they still couldn't score. I mean, that's pretty pitiful. Now the question becomes, what about recruits? OU hosted a boatload of 23, 24, and even some 25 top prospects, class of 25 prospects. What does this do? I mean, I still would like to think that no recruit's going to second guess anything. It's obvious to every single one of them, they're going to have the ability to come in, and they know that OU needs them. OU is a very young team, and they know that if they come in and compete and play well, they're going to have the option and the ability to play. But I don't know. It's kind of tough to some degree for some of these kids probably that aren't committed, like Peyton Bowen. I mean, he's looking at it. No, you got blown out 49-0. He's there. He's like, man, I don't know. But then again, OU's without Billy Bowman, and he knows how bad Oklahoma needs him. And it can have that whole, I don't know. It's just interesting. And I don't think anyone's going to decommit, because we are 6 games into a total overhaul. And I think our expectations, including mine, at the beginning of the season, I said 10-2. My expectations, and I think Sooner Nation as a whole, were way too high. For the first time in a long time, I think we're going to have to be extremely patient during this, because you think about all the players that OU lost, all the coaches that they lost, all the players that went to the NFL. I mean, how many new players are on this roster that did not play last year or weren't even in college? It's a lot to deal with, and it's a lot to handle. It takes a bit for it to get going. I just think our expectations were too high, and I jumped to conclusions way too fast after the first couple weeks.
So with the recruiting side, I've been scrolling on Twitter since the clock hit 0, and even before that, and that's why I think, and people are probably gonna give me shit for this. I don't think Venables is the problem. He seems to really get excitement out of the players on his roster, out of the guys he's recruiting. I think they're just too fucking stubborn to get. They're holding themselves back on the actual field. Again, there's no way, and I know, and that's again, there's no way that a high school player, a very talented high school player, doesn't know how to adjust quickly enough, even at the college level. There's no way that that you can convince anyone that they just absolutely know nothing about football and can't pick up your system, at least the basics of it, quickly. Especially within after spring and a fall camp in summer, they had to have pickup on something. And I'm saying this because of Jaron Kanik. Again, give him opportunities. Nick Evers has been here since the spring. There's no way he doesn't know anything about this offense. Give him an opportunity. Davis Bevel's not that guy. He's not a guy. Probably shouldn't even be on this roster. The recruiting side doesn't seem to really be a concern. It would not surprise me if we lost people, but it doesn't. It really does not seem to be a huge issue because, at least on Twitter, all these guys are very excited about being impactful at Oklahoma, and hopefully next year we see this staff give these young guys an opportunity. Because if they're seeing what we're all seeing as fans and saying, "Nah, we got to keep rolling with the veterans," we're gonna be fucked for years, boys. It's gonna be 2 or 3 years before this 23 class gives any sort of hope to Oklahoma football again. With the, I mean, it's the next part was with the staff again. I hope that I really want Venables to take his role as a DC and the head coach, be the play caller. Sark is a play caller on offense, and it might be a little simpler on offense. I can't think off the top of my head a defensive coordinator that comes in and continues doing his play calling duty as a head coach. But fuck it, be the first then. I'm sure there has been someone. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. Sark's calling plays. Lincoln Riley's called plays his entire head coaching career. Do it for a while, man. It won't hurt.
Yeah, but on the flip side, if Venables did start calling the plays, think about it. Let's do this exercise. What would be different?
I think it's the on the field situation. I genuinely think is a big difference because you, as the coordinator, the guy calling the plays, can talk to the guys when they are on the sideline of how they're doing. Like on the phone, you don't have that visual representation, their body language. You can probably kind of spot them from the box, but you don't feel that emotion that they have. And Venables on the field can at least be like, all right, this guy's a little out of it. Let's get someone in to boost his confidence.
They could always bring Ted Roof out of the box and have him come on the sidelines in that scenario if they feel like that's a change. But really, we've talked about it. The secondary, the safety position is extremely thin and not very talented. The linebacker room, extremely thin, not very talented. I just, if they can't pick up the concepts and they're struggling with the depth and they're struggling with, I just don't know how much different it's going to be. Even if Venables took over, I would like Venables to be more involved, and he probably is involved more than we know. But I just don't know I think OU just knows that they don't have the talent that they must have to master this defensive concept. And the same could be said on the offensive side of the quarterback. Is the quarterback room that good for Levy's offense? And you need a high caliber guy to run that offense. Could that be said that literally they don't have the talent to do that stuff? And in this class, you think about in this 23 class, what they're getting. They're getting a 5-star quarterback. They're getting some corners that are talented, extremely talented. They're getting great defensive line or linebackers. They're getting those pieces where OU's really thin and maybe not very talented. I don't know if anything really even changes even if you change the play calling and you change who's the coordinator. I don't know if it changes at all. I just don't know if this team's talented enough after losing all these players to the NFL draft, transfer portal, and then all the coaches. You have all this influx of transfers and influx of young talent from high school levels, and all these coaches come together. I just don't know if any of that really changes, and maybe it's just part of the rebuilding process. Because you think about when Nick Saban took over Alabama, they weren't good. When Bob Stoops took over, they weren't good. When Dabo Swinney took over, they weren't good. When you think about, there's more. I mean, when Harbaugh went to Stanford, they weren't initially good. I mean, Michigan, they weren't great. Yeah, I mean, they weren't great. Whenever Sark went to Texas, and I'm not saying Sark is the greatest coach, they were a dumpster fire. So I don't, and you're looking at, and people look at, well, Lincoln Riley's first year at USC, and look what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is when you get one of the top quarterbacks in the country and a Heisman front runner with CJ Stroud, and then you get the best wide receiver in the country, and you get all these transfers, you overhaul your roster with a bunch of talent from everywhere, and you play in a weak conference outside of Utah and maybe UCLA now, you can look great. But I guarantee you, if USC runs the table and goes to the playoffs, they're going to run into Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama. Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing that he's had at Oklahoma. And outside of Oklahoma fans rooting for his demise and Colin Cowherd, because he seems to be the only USC fan that gives a shit, sucking him off. If for those of you that watch multiple college football programs, a lot of them question how good their defense is. They do get a lot of opportunistic turnovers at USC, but their defense can get handled by anyone that's physical. But back to Oklahoma, I don't think Venables, there should be any people that are saying Venables needs to get fired or now or in the offseason. I think that's completely wrong. I think firing Venables would be the worst thing for this program, again, because recruiting, he excites people. If anything, like I said, I think it was last week, remove Ted Roof. If he doesn't want to be the play caller, give Todd Bates a shot. At least Todd Bates worked with you for multiple years at Clemson. Ted Roof is essentially trying to learn your defense and teaching it as he's learning it. Ted Roof at least knows what the hell's going on in a Venables defense and has been with him for multiple years now. I'm done talking about Levy. I still think he fucking sucks, even after 20 or however long we've been recording this. But I think Venables is the guy for Oklahoma in the long term. This year just has not been very good. I don't think that the 10-2 expectation that we both had at the beginning of the year was off. I think the standard that they're trying to defend isn't being required of by the coaches. I genuinely think, and Zach Sanchez was very vocal on Twitter about how the players need to make plays. I understand that the players do need to step up and do something, but at some point there's a miscommunication happening from what the coaches are teaching to what the players are applying, and it doesn't seem like they need to fix that gap of communication so that they can actually do something. And I think next week the defense is going to struggle, but they'll be fine. If the offense does this shit again, we might as well go ahead and wrap up the season and go 3-9. Because if an offense can't score 21 points, or 7 points, you're never winning a game. You got to score something.
I'd like to think that Gabriel will be back next week. And I do think that Kansas game, Kansas ended up losing to TCU, but I do think that Kansas game will be it'll be a handful for Oklahoma for them to try to beat them. Because and it also depends on the health of their quarterback with Daniels. I don't know. I know he left with a shoulder injury. I don't know what the exact injury is, but OU is going to have their hands full next week. And I'd like to think if Gabriel's back, they're going to be able to get some confidence. The team's going to start playing in the right way and make a step in the right direction. I would hope that this team goes 6-6, 7-5. Maybe beat Kansas, maybe beat an Iowa State, maybe beat Tech. Probably not beating Oklahoma State, probably not beating Baylor. But get 2 or 3 wins, hopefully maybe even 4 wins. Finish out the season, hopefully be bowl eligible and win the bowl game against in the Camping World Bowl or wherever it's going to be, and win. I will also say I am certainly glad that this rebuild and this transition is going on in the Big 12 while we're in the Big 12. I don't want to be doing this in the SEC. And if this requires one season where OU is pretty bad, that's fine. I think at the end of the day, and I struggle with it, we have to keep in perspective of how good this program actually has been in the last 20 years or 22 years, whatever. This program has been extremely good and extremely consistent. And there's a lot of programs that wish they were Oklahoma. And Oklahoma will be back, and I'm not concerned. And I think this staff no one's getting fired in this staff. And I think this staff is going to turn this around when you look at next season and, finishing this season and rolling in next season. I think the staff will figure it out, and I think it'll be okay.
I hope a couple of these fuckers get replaced next year.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think that's all I've got. I mean, yeah, it was extremely embarrassing. I wish OU would have scored at least a touchdown or maybe even 2. That would be wild. I do wonder if Bevel is truly the second best quarterback, but he must be. I mean, there must be something that they know that we don't know. Obviously, we're not coaches, but it just seems from watching, it seems like that someone else would have given more of a spark. But it is what it is. OU now moves to 3-3. Looking at the Kansas Jayhawks coming to Norman. OU's going to be hosting some recruits. Hopefully they can actually win a game and look like that they're building on something. And I'd like to remain cautiously optimistic about Dylan Gabriel playing next week as well. And that would be critical. Do you have some final thoughts of the end of video challenge, Jose?
The end of video challenge. Just tell us your thoughts on the game. Yeah. Let us know how much you hated today's football game, because I know I fucking hated it.
This should go really well. I'm sure our comment section is going to be great.
Oh yeah.
But be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, and Spotify. Everything's linked in the description below. We wanted to get this quick reaction video out to you as soon as possible. And we'll see what Oklahoma can do come next week. We'll see you guys for our next show beginning of next week.